if I change things, still I fear the answer's no. In this fucked up world in which I feel I stand alone. All this hate that I feel for you, my one true enemy, once was blind, but now I see. It makes me question, why do we choose to live this way? I try to free my mind from what's not meant to be. It makes me question why.
Boom! Yeah! What? 2 reviews in 2 days? Who does that? I do that basically never. I can't remember the last time I did this. Actually, you have any idea what a non-weekend I've had basically because of this? Like, I basically shut my entire weekend out of the water because I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna do reviews. And I tell you what, all you people come to my stream, tonight I'm playing some League of Legends, whether you like it or not, because I haven't played in like a week because of this crap. So, you all can just shut up and deal with it. How about that? Yeah, that's how I feel. Alright, so enough yelling at you, because you don't deserve it. I'm sorry. I saw some more Jurassic Park. More specifically, Lego Jurassic World. I never played a Lego game before this. Like, not a proper one. Like, I did play one that was based on Legos for the original PlayStation. It was like this racer, and you can like build your own car with Lego bricks, and if that sounds cool, it wasn't. It was awful. The racer had like terrible controls, and it was just so boring. I hated that game. But this game I don't hate. See, we got like this duality going on this weekend. See, first let's talk about something related to Jurassic Park that was fucking awful with Chicken Park. But now we're talking about something that's not awful in the form of Lego Jurassic World, because it's actually a really good game. You know, and I think the best part about the game, personally speaking, as a fan, is that you can go through all the Jurassic Park movies. You wind up going through Jurassic Park, The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, and ending in Jurassic World. And that's really awesome. I think that's a great way of handling things. Like it's 4 movies in one game, and you go through all of them. And it actually took surprisingly few liberties with the movie plots. Like, it seems to follow them pretty well. There's a couple of bits that are changed, and mostly every time someone's supposed to die, they don't, is how it seems to work, since it's a kid's game, and it's going for a very cartoony style. But other than that, it actually follows the movies rather closely, which surprised me a great deal, because I wasn't really sure how they were going to handle a lot of this. And they handled it very well. Visually, the game is actually really good, which also surprised me because it's a game crafted off of Legos. So you wouldn't think graphics would be a huge deal, but it's the lighting, I think, is the best part. The atmosphere and the atmospheric effects and everything, it just looks so great. And yes, the models look plasticky, but they're supposed to be, they're Legos, they're supposed to be plastic. That actually makes a lot of sense. The art style overall is actually extremely well done. So visually the game succeeds hands down. And the game's soundtrack is the same soundtrack from all the movies. Yes, they got the John Williams soundtrack, so hell yeah, that's awesome. And from a story perspective, well, like I said, they took very few liberties, so if you've seen the movies, you know how the plot basically goes. There were a couple times where some scenes were switched around, but other than that, there really wasn't anything that was too different. They also tend to rush through a lot of the talky scenes, or some things that are basically glossed over. I think one of the ones I noticed in the example was that there's no fence scene from Jurassic Park 3 with the Spinosaurus, which they skipped over for reasons I actually failed to understand. Maybe they didn't want another chase scene in the game since they literally just had one at that point, but yeah. Speaking of chase scenes, that's the other thing. They kind of mix up the gameplay a bit, where there's actually these chase bits where you're running from a giant dinosaur. I think there's at least one in every single main story arc. There's one where you run from the Rex, there's one where you run from the Rex again in the Lost World, there's one where you run from the Spinosaurus, and of course there's one where you run from Indominus in Jurassic World. As for the rest of the game, they try to mix it up by making it so that every single character has different abilities. Some characters can do things that some characters can't. For example, guys like Ian Malcolm can solve very specific puzzles on the walls. Or if you're Ellie Sattler, you can dig through piles of poop. Yes, there's actually one character in every single story arc that can dig through a pile of shit. There's also certain agile characters that can do acrobatic tricks. This always seems to be the female character in every single arc. I'm not sure why that is, but it seems like only the female characters are able to do gymnastics and stuff. And it was fine to me when it made sense for the character. Like Kelly Malcolm in The Lost World, she did gymnastics. That was actually featured in the movie, so when she could do it in the game, it made sense. But then you had characters like Amanda Kirby doing the same thing in Jurassic Park 3, and Amanda Kirby did like nothing but scream that entire movie. So I'm not sure why she can do this, but I guess I had to make her so she could do something, so fair enough. Speaking of screaming, some characters do just that. They actually scream really loud to break glass, which is a little clever, I suppose. And you can also play as the dinosaurs, which is one of the better parts of the game, I thought. Being able to charge through giant objects and stomp around the Triceratops, that's actually quite satisfying, I must admit. The game's also really violent for a children's game, and I mean, it's all cartoon violence, but some of these dinosaurs get flung really, really hard. Like, even harder than they did in the movie. I just, wow. And you can actually beat up other Lego men and then they explode into pieces, which is actually kind of disturbing. Like, are they dead? Because if so, I'm pretty sure I murdered like at least 3 dozen people during my playthrough. And some of them weren't even doing anything, I just couldn't figure out what to do. And that is a very consistent issue in this game. It's a puzzler, and you always have to figure out what to do next. But the problem is that every puzzle basically has the same solution, which is find a bunch of bricks and build something. There are times where you need certain characters to do certain things, and like, for example, there's other times where you have to help a sick dinosaur by going around and doing a bunch of other stuff and getting the food they need to get better. That happens like 5 times in the game, and it's actually really fucking annoying if I was being honest. Because this feels like padding. And that's one negative aspect I gotta say about the gameplay overall, is that a lot of this feels like padding. This isn't like Tomb Raider, where the puzzles require any bit of thought, and in fact, mostly through my playthrough, I kept overthinking the puzzles because of how ridiculously simple they all are. Almost every single one of them involves walking around smashing something and then building something out of it to immediately solve the puzzle. There's no thought process into doing so. Eventually I realized that once I couldn't figure something out, I'll just start randomly smashing stuff, and you have no idea how often that actually works. In fact, it worked about 95% of the time. There was an occasional time when I was missing something that was, again, probably really obvious and dirt simple, that a child could figure out immediately, but because I'm used to playing more complex puzzlers, I kept overthinking every single puzzle I was doing. And the other problem with this is that the game becomes stale very, very quickly. I really liked playing through the first Jurassic Park and The Lost World, but once I got to 3 and into Jurassic World, I just felt bored because the game drug on and on and on, and it never got any more challenging. It was always the same thing, basically, over and over and over again. True, each puzzle would result in sort of a different thing on the screen, and sometimes it was often quite funny, and that's one of the game's big positives, that it's a really funny game, sometimes downright hilarious, but there's no complexity here. You're never gonna think too hard about what to do next, you're just gonna go and do it. I guess I wish they just tried a bit harder to make the game a bit more challenging. That was weird. Anyway, in fact, you can't even really die in the game. I mean, there is a life meter and you'll explode for a few seconds when you lose it, but you get right back up again. There's no life system as far as I can tell. I don't think there's a way to game over either. Again, it's very much a children's game in that regard. And I guess it makes sense. It's Legos. They're made for kids, so I get that, but really no way to game over, because I mean, even other classically children's games like Sonic or Mario, you can still lose. Come on. I know it sounds like I probably don't like the game, and that's not true, I do. It's actually a really fun experience just because of how funny it is. It's nice and nostalgic to play through all your favorite Jurassic Park movies, or if you're me, you really hated 3 and didn't want to play through that part, but you did anyway because what the hell. And the game's so damn funny that it will keep you laughing. There were multiple times throughout this game that I actually laughed out loud just because of how funny it was. The humor is downright creative sometimes. It's just the lack of complexity to the gameplay might wear on the player after a while. This definitely isn't a hardcore game by any stretch of the imagination. Also, the camera can be a bit of a nightmare, which is something I hadn't seen in a game in a really long time, I must admit. There's times where it's just not looking in the direction you need it to look, which is a little disorienting because, you know, sometimes to solve a puzzle you need to see a certain spot, and it won't let you see it, and that's really, really frustrating, I must admit. Still, back to good things. It's a funny game, it's an enjoyable game, looks great, sounds great. I mean, it's a good experience, and I think it's worth buying. Just know what you're in for. You're not in for a challenge. You're in for some fun, some nostalgia, and some laughs. And sometimes you need that out of a game more than just a challenge, you know? Anyway, till next time, this is Darkness, the Visual Fawn. is that? Is that you?
No, not this time anyway.
I don't know what's happening. What? Man. Why is that TV on? Did you turn the TV on?
Hey, stop blaming me.
Then who did? What the hell is this bloody thing on? You never tell with these blasted contraptions, I must say. I think it is. That little red dot in the corner. Right, that's what tells you. Hello! Oh, you can see me. Oh, good. I'm glad we finally had the chance to talk. I was so excited to finally see you from the outside, you know? Oh, good. I hope you haven't forgotten about me. I was just so worried you'd forget about me. And I couldn't handle that. So I'm hoping we can have this talk. Sorry it's so dark. I just really don't like the light very much. If you might recall.
Who's that?
I mean, look at what you've done with it. Hold on. No, I need to stop. I need to stop and just let you know that you have...
No, seriously, who is that?
Shut up. I couldn't have ever hoped. I mean, you were so worried about letting me handle things, and look at what you've done with it. I mean, I could not have fathomed such a disaster. Truth be told, I mean, I could have done a lot of things. That bad, have I? But, you know, I always look out for number one. Namely me. And you apparently are too busy just not doing that. I don't really know what you've been doing. But it certainly isn't living, or existing, or doing anything smart. Do you like the shirt, by the way? I think it looks quite good on me. Very modern-esque viewpoint things, you know? I could have gone with something more traditional, like a dark wizard cloak, but then I just looked like a druid and it'd be all lame and everything. Nobody wants that. And now that you probably remember who I am, you're probably wondering how I got here. I just need you to think back to that little review you did with that Zelda game. You know, those games we never review ever. And you just had to flirt with the evil witch. Of course you did, because you are a sucker for a pretty face if ever there was one. Good lord, man. How many problems in your life have been caused because of that? Because you just can't say no to a pretty face. It never happens. Beautiful woman comes up to you, asks you something. Oh, we can't just say no, because that would be smart. But that's really, not necessarily accurate, completely, sort of, kind of. Here. I wonder, what sort of mischief can I get into now that I actually physically exist? Ugh! It's so exciting and exhilarating, can you not feel it? Anyway, I think I've babbled enough for one day, so I suppose I'm done. Do have a nice fucking day, though.